What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cheeky Crypto Uncensored. A very happy weekend to you all. Hope you've all had a fantastic weekend so far. And of course, today we're going to take a look at VeChain and its price action. And are we looking very bullish for VeChain? But what we are looking at first of all here is the weekly chart. And the ultimate fight we will have is the bears and the bulls fighting out the weekly 200 EMA. A close higher or lower will of course define the narrative for the next week, in my opinion. We can see the price currently sitting at 2.818 cents, and the 200 EMA, we're looking for it to close higher or lower than 2.885 cents. Closing higher, of course, will give us a more bearish narrative. Closing lower, well, we may be looking for a test of that 50 in the coming week. But considering the stochastic positionings on the hourly, the 4 hour, the 8 hour, they are oversold and ultimately they are looking for a push to the upside. We can take a note of the daily stochastic. We will also look at that chart. It is overbought, so the daily looking for a correction, but ultimately what we can take a note of here is that weekly stochastic resetting itself very nicely indeed. We can see it's sitting around about 24.8%, so there is still a little bit more room to the downside. That may still feed into the narrative of the daily looking for a bit of a correction before we do look for that next bullish push to the upside. We're ultimately still looking at a potential 4 cent for VeChain and its price action. So let's get into it. Let's dive down through all of the timeframes and analyse the moves that VeChain is playing out in today's update. Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. Fantastic to have you all back here as always. Before we get into it, smash up the like button, subscribe, tap on the bell, all these real good stuff. We appreciate it when you guys do that for us. But of course, we are here to talk about VeChain in today's update. Now, like I said on the intro for today's video, the closure higher or lower than that 200 EMA will of course be a very bullish point or a very bearish point, depending how we ultimately close this one. So we can see that the price is currently sitting at 2.82 cents, and that 200 EMA, if we drag this one open, we can see is at 2.885 cents. We may be looking for the closure above that 200. I think it would be very good going forward, and I am still looking for a weekly push up towards 4.1, perhaps 4.6 cent on that higher level. Not expecting a higher level overall, but I do still think a push up to there. Of course, we will have stern resistance up here at the previous high of 3.877 from Christmas Day. We did see the push up to there the week of Christmas, so we're going to see resistance on this push to the upside, but I do still think we are in a good position for these altcoins to have a bit of a rally. Let's drop it down a time frame onto the daily, and we can take a note of a few things that are playing out. So first of all, what we can see is the price is coming up currently to test out the daily 50 EMA. The daily 50 EMA we can see is sitting at 2.902 cents. The price just now is sitting at 2.820. So the daily looking a bit more bearish than the weekly, perhaps sitting below the 50 SMA, the 50 EMA. We can see the price coming down, bouncing on the daily equilibrium. The 200 daily EMA is sitting a little bit further down in the chart here. We can see that at 2.453 cents. So we may even see the price come back down to test out this area. It's not the worst thing in the world. When we look at the daily stochastic position, we can see the stochastic is higher than I would pretty much like for it to see it sitting just now. Let's drag this open on the charts and analyse it. We can see that the daily stochastic has now dropped lower than the average, is pointing to the downside. Volatility in itself is also pointing to the downside. So we don't have an overly volatile market just now on the daily time frame for VeChain. We will most likely look for that daily stochastic to reset down a little bit. We can see that it does like to have nice travels on its daily. We did have previous areas where it spiked a lot, not giving us much price action. So we'll keep an eye on this daily. We will look for it to reset, but what we can see is the 8 hour, the 4 hour and the 1 hour, they are all looking for a push to the upside. So let's drop it down a little bit more and take a look at the 4 hour time frame. So we can see the moves that played out on that 4 hour chart. We were looking at this big A, B and C structure. The C wave itself had a target area between 2.396 and 2.2 cents. We did of course see the price drop on the 23rd of January at 12 PM UTC. We've seen a low of 2.506 cent. So we did ultimately fall short of the target area. We can also see this fair value gap set back here with a higher level of 2.45 and the lower level here of around about 2.39. we could still see the price come on down to here, considering the 4 hour stochastic again finding rejection on its 200 EMA, and we have now lost the 50 SMA and its 50 EMA. So we may ultimately look for that push to the downside, but I don't think that's the likely move for its price action. Once again, when we take into account the stochastic positionings on these lower time frames, the 8 hour, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, well, they ultimately are looking for that push to the upside, and I do think we are in with a strong possibility of seeing this. When we stretch this open on that 4 hour chart, well, it does look like we are trying to form out a bit of a impulsive move to the upside, starting us off perhaps with this 5-wave move. So this move to the downside, we may be actually looking for a bit of a deeper correction before we do look for that bullish move, with an A, B and C coming on down. Let's just target this one out before we do go any further. We'll take that 100% move of its A wave, we'll bring it over to that B wave swing high, and we know we do have that possibility of 2.727 with the lower level of 2.675 to see that price come on down to, and a bounce from there overall would be a very good thing to see indeed. We could look at that as the retracement, perhaps as a wave 2 or a wave B. We'll decide that once we see these moves playing out. So from there, what we'll do is draw on a couple of fib levels. First of all, we will take the 100% move to the upside, and we'll park that for now. We will come back to that shortly. Let's take the inverse 100% of that move also, and we can look at the typical retracement area for a B wave or a wave 2, however this one decides to play out later in the charts. Well, what we can see is this retracement would take us down to 2.735 with a lower level of 2.558. So we have got a bit of coercion here for that retrace, and we can bring on that full 100% move to the upside, and we'll bring it down to the worst case scenario, that 2.6 cent level. And from there, the next bullish push to the upside, in my opinion, would see the price of VeChain coming up towards the higher level here, 3.185 with the higher level of 3.320. This giving us the idea of perhaps a big A, B and C wave movement to the upside. Now, why do we want to see A, B and C movements? Well, what we will quickly do, guys, we will drop this back up to the daily time frame, and we can zoom out just a little bit here. So the moves to the upside, in my opinion, we are nesting inside of this C wave right here, a 5-wave move, a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and internal moves that we are seeing playing out are corrective A, B and C's. Internally they are holding corrective patterns also. So we do have the potential W, X, Y, X and Z in this wave 1, which once again we can knock that one on the head. It's a corrective pattern. We also know we came down in an A, B and C in its wave 2, and we can see in this wave 3 internally we have this white A, B and C structure bring us up to the high of 3.877 cents. Coming back down in its wave 4, this next push to the upside, ultimately we will be looking for an A, B and C overall to the upside. Now the structures we played out on those lower time frames, we would look for that A, B and C, and in my opinion that would be the initial push to the upside as a bigger A, B and C structure, which would ultimately bring us up towards our target area for that 5th wave when we bring it up to the weekly chart. But once again, we can see how those moves would be playing out. We would be looking for a much bigger A, B and C to align with the rest of the structures on the lower time frames. So all in all, the weekly close I think could be quite a vital one this week for VeChain. We can see, we've been testing it ever since the start of the year, so we're running around about 5 weeks now of testing, perhaps 6 weeks testing this 200 EMA. A nice close above here would ultimately be a bullish sign in my opinion, and pretty much lead us on the path heading up towards that possible 4 cent level. Let me know where you guys are positioned with VeChain. Are you still looking for a push to the upside, or have you flipped bearish? Is that daily stochastic sitting in the back of your head, leading you down the garden path that perhaps we are looking for a deeper correction in the markets, and 4 cent is not a possibility? I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on that one. I hope you've enjoyed today's update. Why not check out the latest content from the channel by watching this video right here.